Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folare, and today we're going to continue the theme of security, or the lack of it, in certain aspects of our daily life, especially up in the north. And yesterday we talked about, the report of the French Institute for Research in Africa. I remember, what caught our attention there was that its statement that over 10,600 deaths from violent crime had occurred in 2018, which was even up about 1.4% from the previous year. That was yesterday. And we spoke about that and some of the problems, challenges, how will things be different, what are we doing? Well, in the middle of that, continuing with the theme, as you probably will know, the United Kingdom, through its, what is the office now? Foreign and Commonwealth Office of the United Kingdom. On its website, it's put out this advisory, which Western countries do from time to time. The US does it, the UK does it, but around at this juncture, the UK is saying to its citizens that they're advising against travel to 21 states in Nigeria for all but essential purposes. In other words, I imagine, maybe the way a traveler is to read it is that if you don't have a matter of life or death to go sort out in any of the states that they name, 21 of those states, Cross River is among them. You go to Zamfara, you go to Kano, Kaduna, Jigawa, Katsina, Kogi, and even Sokoto, Kebbi. You get the idea. You can see what this pattern is showing. We already know, some of this stuff, and we've been grappling with it. Okay, my guests this morning got Mr. Ahmed Dada Abbas, a regular friend of the House, a lawyer and political affairs analyst. Good morning, and thank you for coming on.
Good morning, sir.
Indeed.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Indeed. And Mr. Curtis Adigba, another friend. We tend to have friends on the program, actually. We know each other a bit well. So he's also a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Curtis. Thanks for coming by. You heard my intro, and this advisory, two ways to look at it. Just like Trump says, America and Americans are first. Everything in his life, in his politics, everything is America first. So from that perspective, maybe other countries and other leaders also have that attitude, but probably don't, voice it in that quite in that same way. So I could imagine Britain saying that this is just the way we see it from here. We're getting reports, we're getting intelligence, and we're saying that it's not stable. That's what they're implying when they say this advisory to the citizens, don't go. You think it's fair comment? Curtis, would you like to start? Or it doesn't matter. Ahmed? Okay, go Ahmed. Do you think it's fair comment?
For me, it is a fair comment. When you have the interests of your citizens at heart, like you rightly said, the Americans will always put Americans first. You remember vividly when Berlin discotheque bombed during the era of Reagan. They came all the way from United States of America to bomb Benghazi because they just felt one life of an American is very, very important. So from time to time, we can't begrudge them. It's a tradition they've been doing over the years. And Nigeria will not be the first country they've actually warned their citizens to be aware of. From time to time, when they feel a country, there's a breakdown of law and order, insecurity, they warn their citizens to say, be cautious, take extra care. If you don't have any business in that country, if it has nothing to do with life and death, please keep away. There is absolutely nothing wrong with giving your citizens advice from time to time, because most of the citizens may not be privileged to have, some of the intelligence that the government will have. So for me, we can't deny the fact that as Nigerians, we are also bothered. There's so much insecurity.
Yes.
Somebody put on a platform about 2 weeks ago that he lost his mother, and somebody was asking on the platform, is the road to your village secured? In case we want to attend your mother's funeral. That is, the roads are so insecure these days. So
Indeed.
For me, it's fair. It's a fair comment.
Okay.
To warn their citizens.
Okay. Let me not add anything, and just
You want me to respond?
to get your response to that same question of fair comment, or do you detect any sensationalism, no matter how unintended? Because the tones were quite moderate. It wasn't hysterical as they construct these diplomatic messages.
Travel advisory are things that countries do engage on from time to time. I mean, it's like me saying to my children, don't go to this part of Lagos if you don't have anything to do there, because these are dark spots. Every government has got that responsibility to the citizens to warn them about where they think they might run into trouble. But again, it's a function of strategic interest balancing. If this was happening in Niger Delta, the British will not say to their citizens not to go to Niger Delta where they have oil operations. Rather, they will fortify the team to be able to go there and come out. And so, I mean, it's perfectly right for them to do that. Just like Nigeria can equally say to our citizens, please be careful about going to London. Because every night now in London, people are being killed from knife crimes. So it's perfectly right. I mean,
and if you don't have anything to do,
if you don't have anything to do in London, please don't go there.
Exactly. And even if you must go to London, if it's not a matter of life or death, for example, don't go to Brixton area at all.
Don't go to Brixton. Don't go to the other one that is very popular with Nigerians. What is it called?
And this is where there's a concentration of Nigerians.
Or not London, because most of the knife crimes now are happening around not London area. So you can also tell our citizens not to go there. But like Ahmed said, it is our responsibility to give our citizens that sense of security. And right now, it's terrible. As a matter of fact, I just said something to somebody about it now. Look, security is not only a function that the federal government can carry out. And that's where we have problems. That's why governors are drawing security votes monthly to provide security. If you look at the responsibilities or duties of the local government as contained in Section 7 and the 4th schedule of our Constitution, you will find out that the local government is the first responder in a democracy. That basically disappeared until I think some few days ago now that we are hearing that they're not getting their funds. They need to step in. The state government need to step in. For instance, if somebody is being kidnapped on a local government road, or you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When every level of government need to step up for security. Without security, there's nothing we can achieve in this country.
Well, maybe that's why one other headline this morning, you might have seen it on the front page of The Nation, is saying that security chiefs may go, so the headline speculates, security chiefs may go as governors seek new ideas. Maybe, and this is talking directly to what he has just been saying. Yes, please, Ahmed.
You know, Nigeria is it's a country that sometimes you wonder how we run the affairs of our state. There's so much insincerity. There's so much deception. Sir, there is nothing mysterious about securing Nigeria. There are fantastic men and women that if the government gives a hand of fellowship to say, give me creative ideas, they will give you ideas without traveling out of the shores of this country on how to secure Nigeria perfectly 100%. But you see, when you live in denial, the structure of Nigeria the way it is today, if you like, you change your chief of staff 100 times over. You can't secure Nigeria the way it is with a centralized police system. You can't.
And then we often hear that security is not a government-only affair. And, you know, looking at this theme yesterday, the idea, of course, as we well know, is that everybody needs to be involved in security and all of that. And the idea where we came to that yesterday was when the idea, you know, occurred that what you gentlemen seem to be saying, the gentleman yesterday, is that we can actually get a hold of this once we decide among ourselves that enough, no more. We're sick and tired of this violence, and so we're not going to let it happen. The impression was that we don't. We tend to be passive, waiting on government to do its work.
No, the issue is that, you see, the quest to harness power at the center by those who are governing our society without knowing that, look, there's so much that you can actually choose. When you take on too much responsibility, you won't be effective. Like you rightly said, we have a local government chairman who will not have the ability to control a DPO, an area commander, in his domain to say, please, patrol this highway for me 24/7. I'll provide the resources. He doesn't. If he gives the area commander such order, the man will have to take order from the state command or the IG. You call him the number one security man of the state. You call the governor the number one security chief of the state. Yet, he doesn't have the power to give operational instruction to his police commissioner in the state.
And you think all of this adds up to the explosion in crime that we have on our hands now?
Beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Because we have this explosion on our hands now, where nobody cannot but notice.
Governance has failed. That is just the bottleneck. Governance has failed.
I wouldn't say so.
See, let me make my point. Okay. You are free to continue.
Yes, but look. Okay, could you just land on that point of thinking that there's been a failure in governance? Yes.
You have a situation where you have 40 million unemployed people in a society. I'm not justifying crime. Are you aware that the American state all of a sudden said there's no more drop box for Nigerians? You must come for interview. Why? Because there's a challenge of influx of people.
29,000 Nigerians went to America via inbox and didn't return.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting my point? Why? Even the Canadian nation, as a state is complaining. You get visa to America, you enter America, you cross the border to apply for. Yes, that is what is happening now. And they are now saying no. So what am I trying to say? Look, in a society where people do not have a sense of belonging, the reason why people are migrating, sir, is simply because they do not have a sense of belonging. The government has been too detached from the people. The people are not feeling the impact of the government. And I'm not just talking of Buhari administration.
And you think
I am not talking of Jonathan administration. I'm not talking of Yar'Adua. I'm not talking of...
You're talking about our society the way it is today.
Sir.
What we have on our hands.
The progress we made in this nation, that people can say yes as a nation, was between 1960 and 1966. After that, we've just been crawling.
Okay, let me bring Curtis in. Curtis, okay. You wanted to interject.
You said security is everybody's business.
Well, I didn't say it. Everybody knows it is.
Well, let me explain.
Sure.
As a person who occupies the office of a citizen, I don't carry arms, so I cannot go and attack criminals. But there's something I can do. If I have the information, I can provide information to the authorities. So I've done my own part. And that's what is expected of all the citizens. But here's the problem that we have. He talked about the fact that the local government chairman cannot tell the DPO to go after criminals. That's not true. Where there's a problem is when politics is involved. Chasing ordinary criminals in our society has never been the problem. There's been no conflict between the governors and the commissioner of police when it comes to fighting crime. Now, the problem we have is that we are a population of about 200 million, all right? And we have a police force of about 400,000. Out of these 400, 200 are on civic responsibility jobs, carrying handbags for women. You see one individual is carrying about 25.
To sort of exaggerate it only slightly.
No,
yes, I understand what you mean.
You go to
what we would say
non-essential
to security.
Yeah, you go to supermarkets. You have police people there.
Yeah.
You go to banks. They're everywhere. And so what happens is, if there is a breach in Zamfara, you hear the Inspector General of Police saying, we are moving policemen from Lagos to go and help the guys in Zamfara. Now, it sends a clear message to the criminals in Lagos, or those who are intending to come to Lagos, that there's a vacuum in Lagos, so you can go to Lagos and exploit it. And when it happens in Lagos again, then they move people from somewhere else to Lagos. So that's what we've been doing. So first and foremost, we don't have enough policemen to provide security. And the ones that, even the number that we have, we're only utilizing half of it for security purposes.
You know, I hear you, sir, but what you just said, we don't have enough policemen. And to continue just the ridiculous equation, we don't have enough policemen, and we have too many criminals.
That's the point.
How did we arrive at too many criminals? When you
Have you seen the picture that
when
is
you
going
moderate
around?
the problem, when you bring the problem down as much as possible, then the authorities, such as they are, can get a better grip on things. So maybe that might be one of the ways to look at it.
When I was also saying failure of governance, I mean, it has so many dimensions. Now, the issue is that there's so much weapon in the hands of these bandits and criminals, not in society. The question you ask yourself, sir.
And not Chakabula weapons, not Dane guns.
Sophisticated weapons that you don't buy for 1,000 naira, or 5,000 naira, or 50,000 naira. The question you want to ask
That
yourself,
actually
as a state,
rivals police weaponry.
yes, that as a state, we should ask ourselves the
How?
question, how did we get to a point where the entire society is littered with illegal weapons? Am I responsible for that?
But because you said that
are
there's
you
no
respons-
problem when you're fighting straightforward crime.
Are you responsible
but when
for that?
politics intervene,
Are you responsible
It's
for
when
that?
there's- look.
They should be asking critical questions. How did we get our society littered with illegal weapons? Where are they coming from?
You know how that happens?
do we want to ask that question?
You know what that happens?
And even if you ask it-
even if you have adequate manpower facing people that have access to unlimited weapons, you are still going to have problems.
Okay, well,
Yori, I think I don't want to restrict our problems to the government alone. I think they have an important role to play, but we also as citizens have problems. Let me give it a simple example. You are in a typical Lagos traffic, okay? The light is red, but people are crossing. There are only 2 policemen on duty. So they walk to one of the vehicles and try to stop him. And it worsens the traffic situation. And you see some Nigerians, Nigeria is finished. These police people can't even do anything. This is a society where you observe that there's a problem, you faction out a solution, the solution again becomes part of the problem. There is no country in the world where people do not attempt to smuggle arms, illegal arms, into. You know that. People will always do that. But what then happens is the system that you have in place to prevent. Okay? And if that system fails, then another system steps in, which is to ensure that those people do not keep possession of those arms. Now, all this has failed in our country. Why? Because we do not have enough security architecture. You see, when people...
sorry, sir. At that point, I was just wondering as you were speaking, because we've been regaled with pictures at the ports of, what ordinary people consider as horrendous weaponry. How can this is not something that anybody with $500,000 naira to his name can possibly pull off.
You know who
so
brings them?
Who are the people behind this high-level, high-wire? Are we ready to ask those questions?
That's a very important question you've asked. And how, you see, when they ship these weapons, they brand them a different thing altogether.
Naturally, smuggle. They
You
smuggle
understand? And sometimes because of the corruption in our port, these containers are not even examined. I don't know if you have heard that on 2 or 3 occasions, the containers actually left the port. Were on their way out to the city before
a tip-off.
Before a tip-off. So, look, crimes happen in every society. What happens is...
But it's becoming an epidemic here.
No, it's already an epidemic.
Yes.
It's not becoming. It's already an epidemic because today, you cannot travel from here to Ibadan. You cannot travel from Ibadan to Ife and not be worried. I know people are doing that every day, but when you hear the stories,
also all the papers are concerned with security. You look at them, you just get a synopsis of what's going on. Daily Sun this morning says that Buratai actually has been indicting his soldiers. That I'm not sure about you guys. He's accusing them of, indiscipline and lack of commitment.
Did you see the
Lack
pictures,
of commitment.
that are going around?
People think that there's infiltration into
Assistant
the army,
Commissioner of
maybe
Police.
the police as well.
Did you see that picture?
Which one?
The 24 kidnappers They arrested somewhere around between Ife and Ibadan with an assistant commissioner of police in uniform.
And they said that's a fake.
But you see, what he
uniform.
does,
Yeah,
he's the one who comes to the road to stop vehicles.
Yes. But say it's a fake police commissioner.
Yes, he comes to the road and then pretend to stop vehicle as a policeman. And when you stop, these guys will come from the bush and descend on you.
There are such criminals all over the world.
All over the world.
That criminals who will, what is the word now?
Imposters.
Imposters who pretend to be soldiers,
Yeah.
will wear Nigerian Army uniform, will wear Nigerian police. Unfortunately, but you see, we're still looking. Gentlemen, are you?
But it's not as much as we have it
Are
here.
we talking about the little bits and pieces that have led to this crisis that's on our hands now?
You see,
How does unemployment factor into? Because when intellectuals begin to speak about this, they aim at that direction. There's far too large a pool of possibles.
Sir, can I tell you, look, the reality. We are making comparison with United States of America, with Canada, with Australia, with New Zealand, that has similar challenges of criminals. People in America, people going to the shopping mall, they kill and all the rest of them. But the bottom line is, there is always a resolution of most crime in those civilized society.
Yes.
But it doesn't prevent it.
And it does.
You see, the fact that you arrest people after is not what we are talking about.
Yes.
People can be arrested after.
Sir.
But the essential thing is to prevent the crime from happening.
The arrest leads to another aspect of this question.
Sir,
the arrest would lead in those societies to an total ultimate prosecution.
Yes.
Here,
Sir,
we still don't know who killed Bola Ige.
Let me tell you, if a man is killed and is prosecuted for killing, it doesn't bring back the life that is taken.
But it does serve as something of a deterrent. They will get you.
The most civilized societies today, you cannot prevent crime. The only place I know or that I have read where probably there will be no crime is probably where God resides in heaven.
Yes.
That's it.
But any human society, you can't prevent it.
But that is
regardless of your technology.
But that is
but
the
like
objective.
We said, once the crime is
objective.
committed, civilized societies
You
will
go after
deploy
the
the resources
them,
to go after the criminals,
get them,
take them through the judicial system, and
punish them
and allow them to pay for their crime. And most times, you won't hear that a mall was attacked today and the following day it was attacked, or the following month it was attacked. But in Nigeria here, you hear that a particular road, Kaduna Abuja Expressway,
there's so many
is no longer passable.
There's so many aspects to this problem.
You understand me, sir?
There's so many aspects to this problem. If people were to go, and I'm sure the police are doing the best that they can, go about their job so diligently and arrested all those that require to be arrested for prosecution and for investigation, there wouldn't be room to. There wouldn't be room. There wouldn't be room to hold them. There wouldn't be room to hold them. And then all of them are going to go away, which brings us that other horrible word we have in Nigeria: impunity.
No, apart from the impunity, when these guys are arrested, what happens to them? Very soon, they are back in the system to continue from where they stopped.
That is the impunity now.
You know why?
That is the impunity we're talking about.
Because we have people who will go to court to defend them and find loopholes in how investigations were carried out, and the courts will throw them out, will throw this matter out. And then you find, look, we have a system where some people, while being detained in a police station, all right, can set up an illegal administration within the confines of the walls where they are being detained to raise money and buy their freedom. I don't know if you have heard that.
Yeah, we've heard that people behind bars still run their empires from behind bars.
Look,
so we know it can be done.
I told a story, and it's real. I can get the people involved. A story whereby at Ketu here, my 12, a friend of mine was coming from Ikorodu. Somebody knocked at his window. He looked.
Ketu, by the way, is in Lagos,
yes.
southwest of
Before
the country.
he knew, they removed his 2 phones, handsets. Now, he was told by the last mile people to go to Ketu police station. He went to the station, lodged his report. The policeman looked at him and said, "Do you want the phones back?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "It will cost you 40,000. He said, "I don't have 40,000. So let's go to the ATM and I'll give you the money." And so they got to the ATM. The guy withdrew money and said, "But how am I sure you will give me? You're going to find the phones." Then he put his hand in his pocket and brought out the 2 phones. He said, "Are these not the phones?" So he gave him the money. He counted 20, put in one pocket, another 20. Then he walked up to the 2 boys and gave them money. And shortly after, having taken the guy's number from his phone when they had it, they called him. Sir, how much did you give to that man? He gave us 20,000. I said, that's all you gave to him. In a proper society
Now, this
where
story you just told, you didn't make it up.
No.
Because you included a policeman in there.
I will bring the man to you if you want.
You included a
For you to
policeman in that
interview him.
story.
Yes.
And because this will now begin to show us the nature of the problem.
Let me tell you, you know the funny thing? In a proper society, that policeman will arrest those boys and make sure that it never happens to any other person again.
Yeah.
But here he's the beneficiary.
Yes.
It's a system. It's a system that they have built encouraging criminal activities that they benefit from.
Yes.
That's why there's a problem. So it's not about just throwing money and pouring money on the system.
Can I?
The matter of criminal suspects
Yes.
being incarcerated and very, very shortly afterwards,
They disappear.
these suspects disappear.
See, our courts, our prisons, they are all littered with, most times, very, very vulnerable, helpless, and poor, powerless people. The vast majority of our prisons. That's it. If you go to listen to their cases, there will be cases that will make you weep as a human being. That is society that dehumanizes people, victimize them, terrorize them, simply because they are powerless, they don't have money, they don't have connection. It's a sick society. He was talking, look, if you interrogate our regulators, there's no motivation. They are demoralized. Believe me honestly, if you interrogate them privately, they will tell you. You see, when you are leading people, the best way to lead people is lead by example. For the leadership class, they're exploiting the system, and your followers, they know quite all right. And some of them are not willing. The commitment that he's talking about, the commitment required from those who are regulators of the society is not there, because those that they are following, they know that they are not leading by example.
Let's rest it there because I got to go on a break. We'll come back, continue this conversation, and of course, include your calls. Stay with us, please. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. If you've just arrived, we hope you haven't just arrived, because we've been talking about continuing our theme from yesterday, insecurity, the insecurity challenge, and the efforts of people, our government to fix that particular problem. All sorts of disheartening statistics from the French Institute for Research in Africa, and then lately the Foreign and Commonwealth Office of the UK advising its citizens to, if not for almost like a life or death affair, don't go to certain areas, and they've actually picked out 21 states. And so we're looking at, there is the problem, we know it, and the gentleman in front of me, Mr. Curtis Adigba and Mr. Ahmed Dada Abbas, looking at some of the root causes, perhaps, and that will have to be fixed. And I think we got to the level of commitment. How committed are we to this goal? And when we were talking about commitment yesterday, one word came up: orientation, the National Orientation Agency. Are you talking about, when you say how committed are we, do we have an orientation of a zero tolerance for crime?
You know,
because he's saying that people are benefiting from this chaos.
I was actually making a point. He has listed the issue of quantity of manpower as a problem. That's one. Another dimension is the quality. The quality. Look, go to your zone 2 here. Go to zone 2 in Lagos there and see the environment in which your officers are operating and carrying out their duties. Just go there, take a look as a media house and look at it. And look at where some of them sleep overnight. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. What do you expect from a man that you want him to lay down his life in protecting the society? When he's hungry,
Lacks accommodation.
He lacks accommodation.
Decent accommodation.
One of them, some live in Songwater, and they can't afford to transport themselves on a day-to-day basis because of the cost implication and the distance. Sometimes they close by 10 o'clock, heading to Songwater, and to report back to the office by 8 o'clock in the morning. So they rather tell their family, I'll be sleeping in the office from Monday to Friday or Saturday, on Friday, and Friday night or Saturday morning, I'll be coming home. If you look at what they call office, where they even sleep, make do home for a week.
People have spoken about barracks as well, even police barracks being less than desirable.
So it goes back to the same question.
And this thing you just said, you just mentioned the Zone 2,
Yes.
K to Zone 2. You're implying that it's all over, it goes on all over
all
the
over
country.
Nigeria, sir.
All over Nigeria.
And do you know the funny part? There are some officers that in the course of their duty, they sustain injury.
And
They will be abandoned.
Majority of the police stations in this country are sustained by efforts of Nigerians.
Yes.
Who go to buy generators for them, who furnish the stations, provide some, little things here and there.
You guys are saying that we don't have the infrastructure to deal effectively,
look, even when
security infrastructure, to deal effectively with the crisis we have.
We shouldn't lie. Forget the budget in paper. Forget the budget in paper.
The fact of the matter is that the chunk of the money does not get to the places where they should go.
Yes.
And to have the kind of effect we want to see.
The money doesn't get to those places. You're speculating because you're not part of it.
No, let me ask you a question.
You're on the outside looking in.
Look, let me tell you something. This is not made up. Even if you talk to the police people themselves, they will tell you. Do you know how much funds a police station gets monthly or on a quarterly basis for running the place?
On a monthly basis.
Why is it that when a complainant goes to a police station, you have a problem already to complain about an injustice that has been done to you that you want the police to look into, and then they start asking you for money to buy paper?
Yes.
To even take your statement.
To even transport themselves to go and pick up the person.
And all that. These are not things that the citizens should be paying for.
The reality is that you can't blame them because you have a police station, for example, that has only one patrol van or two patrol vans. Let's assume that you have about 10 persons come to make complaint that require arrest. How do they go about it?
But the way you guys are making it sound, it's almost like...
No, we are not saying the police don't have their own problems.
It's almost like there's a breakdown of law and order, which is far from the case.
Let me tell you a story.
1 second, sir. Let me bring in Miriam. Miriam has called in from APAPA. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, ma'am.
Good morning to your panelists.
Good morning.
It is actually with so much fear that I make this call this morning. The reason is the pride of a country or a state is her military. It is absolutely scary that at this point it is becoming more and more clearer that our security outfits are already overwhelmed. I would have said they are getting overwhelmed, but right now it is obvious they are overwhelmed. There is no need for us to begin to paint pictures of optimism where there is no sign. I am deeply scared. I am one person who loved my country so much. I would have loved to stay back, but I am thinking about my children, and relocation is on my mind. It is on my mind because if you are not secured, what else are you looking for? I mean, I need to stay alive to be able to achieve those things that I dream of. Something has to be urgently done. People need to be told the truth. I was so hopeful when Buhari was coming for the first time because I said to myself, with his background, he should have some intelligence when it comes to security. There has to be a miracle of some sort. It seems to be degenerating every day, every hour, every minute, every second. I am scared of going through the pages of our newspapers. I live in a barracks. I do not want to say everything that I know, but trust me, I am close to people who have suffered these things. I know how people who have gone to fight in this insurgency thing that didn't get all their entitlements. So I will not say anything. I don't even want to say my full names and everything, but on Kuyori, something urgent and practical needs to be done. Thank you, and God continue to bless you and Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Miriam. Thank you very much for that call. It's interesting. That's the insight of someone who is close. As she said, fortunately, she's in the barracks. She was, quite careful didn't want to necessarily say very much. But so she knows what she's talking about. She's seen. But I was reading the other day, even one of President Buhari's harshest critics, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, actually was saying that Buhari has tried with at least his fight against
the insurgents.
Insurgents.
Look, here,
so it's interesting.
Problem.
And here is somebody very, very close to the matter saying that this is my own personal observation.
You know what?
And Obasanjo, being a critic, says that, well, he's not my favorite person, but you can't deny the fact that he's making traction with
the job of the president.
Insurgency.
The president may be commander-in-chief, which exactly he is, but he doesn't go to the war front, and he doesn't go on the road to fight criminals. Now, what he does, which is leadership, is authoritative allocation of resources to identify problems. The problem we are having here is not that of lack of resources, but how the resources is being utilized to deal with these problems. And this is where the president will need to pay more attention. Because you see, it's not about how big the budget to the military is. It is what is actually being done with that budget to nip in the bud the insecurity that we have.
And that has many different components. And part of it, Miriam said that she's aware of people who are not even getting their due. I think somebody had said about demoralization of the people. But let me quickly bring in Joshua, calling in from IREWOLEDE in Ogun State. Good morning, Joshua.
Uncle Yori, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for coming.
I greet your guest.
Yes.
I want to say I'm one of the people too who believe the president should do well when it comes to security, especially the fact that he's coming from that the military background, and that is his constituency, so to say. So I hope he will do better this time around in terms of security. I want to generally plead with us Nigerians. I think we have come to a state where it seems like we are mining excuses for justifying criminality. You hear all sorts of things. Police don't have enough vehicles. They don't have enough this. They don't have enough that. Have we forgotten that in this same country we are, the ones that are police, they are privileged to be in that place. And there are some people who have no employment.
Things have changed.
And yet they are not taken to criminal activities. You have a job, you say because you don't have enough vehicles and all that, then you turn yourself to criminals. There is no reason why anybody should be in the police force, should be in the army or anywhere, and engage in criminal activities. It's greed. So we have cultural value matters that we simply just have lost everything. So we shouldn't be mining excuses for people to engage in criminal activities. Let's face it, a criminal is a criminal.
I don't know that it was making excuses, as rather it was trying to explain, analyze the root cause of. But thank you very much for calling in, Joshua. Now, gentlemen, both of you are lawyers. Thankfully, both of you are lawyers. Now, Miriam first, and then even Joshua has just said that they were quite optimistic, even though Miriam cancelled out optimism, said, now enough is enough. Don't be giving people optimism when there's no reason forward. I wonder how much you lawyer gentlemen think of the idea that when it comes to PMB do better on security, especially because he has a military constituency. Well, what do you make of the argument that, well, you see, he's a Democrat now. When you are a head of state, when you're a military guy in a military rule, it's totally different from being a democratic leader. And so things, part of that is not to blame, but to sort of explain the situation we have on hand. What do you make of that argument? Both of you are lawyers. Let me start with you, Abbas, and I'll also take your own legal perspective. How much stock do you place on that argument that one of the things might be that the president and any president has to operate within the rule of law and democratic norms?
Taking a cue from what the last caller just said, the honest truth is that my brother just whispered. The world is changing so dynamically that, look, no matter how big a jumbo jet is, for example, sir, there's a limit of the cargo it is permitted to carry if it's going to fly safely. Why don't we just go to the airport and carry all manner of luggages? They limit you because there is an amount. So even the presidency, there is an amount of responsibility the president can actually effectively tackle. I'll go back to the issue of the structure of the present state. Now, there's population in about 20, 30, 40 years ago. We can't compare our population as at today.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
I forgive me.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted a brief sort of commentary on the idea of being a Democrat. Even people that were banking on Buhari's reputation of no nonsense and all of that,
Yes.
they got this reputation from his days as a military head of state. And so having to operate as a Democrat, does that factor in, or is it an irrelevancy when we're discussing this?
Well, I made this point when Buhari came into power, that Buhari remains the only president of Nigeria who has already hit the stratosphere of his approval rating even before he took office. Because we all believed that he was coming to
Magic wand.
Yes,
he
he
would
would
just
bring
wave
that
the magic
image,
wand and
zero
all that.
tolerance,
But we know,
and everybody around him would be like him.
yes, but we know how difficult it is to build, to rebuild, and build and rebuild. A 24-story building can just come down if you strap dynamite to it. In a minute, boom.
Yeah.
But if you want to take that building up, and you have to go through the processes and all that, in fact, it will be more expensive to rebuild and all that. No, so
linking it to this question.
So linking into this question is, look,
Of
when you operate in a
the democratic credentials of the president.
because you are then talking more about the fundamental human rights
Yeah,
of the people, you have to apply the laws to them.
Yes.
Now, that is not the same with the military who will just go with immediate effect and crack down on the system.
So
and I give you an example.
the presidency be cut some slack because of what you are saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or not?
Now,
They should be.
yes, to be.
Well,
Look, when you go to Zamfara, for instance.
I'm sorry, sir, because Habib from Ojota has actually been waiting for about more than 2 minutes. Good morning, Habib, and apologies.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, what I just want to say is that, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, most of what your guests are saying, essentially, they are not made up stories. Because once you experience some of the Nigerian factor, concerning probably the Nigerian police.
Okay,
and,
are you relating to the story that Mr. Adigba narrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm relating to some. Some happened to me of reason that you now have to self that what kind of police force do we run in Nigeria? For instance, now they say the police is your friend. Yeah, it's true. But as of now, is it the same? Obviously, no. When we were kids, we wanted to join the police force, we wanted to join the army. But who inspired us? It was not the Nigerian police that inspired us. It was the American police because of the high level of professionalism. But what do you have here today in Nigeria? I think where the problem really started was when there was a mistrust between the citizens, the innocent citizens, and the police. Whenever you find the police raiding innocent citizens on no ground of crime. So what do you expect from the citizens? When you have intel that you can tell the police, but because of that fear, you'll be kind of discouraged. This insurgency, the only way that I feel that we can solve it is when the police start showing leadership that we are actually your friends. The other that was traveling to Ilorin, and the policeman collected their normal money, the normal money they collect. And the person beside me said, imagine I was driving a bomb down to Ilorin now. What would have happened? You understand what I'm saying? So the police themselves, I'm not saying they're all bad, but the police force themselves need to step up and show leadership.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Okay.
People are willing to support them. But once we don't see that the police, there's not, even though we buy the best of weapons, and the same people still operate those weapons, we still get the same result.
Okay, Abid.
In Nigeria. Okay, good morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Abid. It's interesting Abid says what he says because, the lady, our first caller, the lady, Miriam, she had said, as far as she knows, this security architecture system is overwhelmed. Not becoming overwhelmed, is overwhelmed. Now, Abib is saying that, well, but part of that overwhelming, sometimes it's internally generated as well, as indicated in the story that you told and that Abib has also just
There will always be bad eggs in every system. You will find bad people, you will find good people. But the point here is the value system. Look, Zamfara, When the issue about banditry and the killings in Zamfara were going on, the president asked the military to move in.
Yeah.
The Air Force guys moved in. What was the next thing we heard? Oh, they are killing innocent people. Traditional ruler said, innocent people are being killed. Again, it took the Air Force to set up a committee to investigate that allegation. And for the same traditional ruler to come out and say, we are sorry, we misled the public. So this is a complex situation. You know?
Okay. Adeshina in IKOYI, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Okoyori.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okoyori, I think we should check the basis of what we're talking about. Security in Nigeria will keep being like this until when we get the structure of Nigeria right. Nigeria is supposedly supposed to be a federal system. The center is too strong to handle anything around the state. We need to break down the center. Let the federating units, which are the states now, handle their duties. If the federating units are generating their funds and putting some few percentages to the center, they will be able to manage their security. They will have state police and they will know who is who in their states. From the state police, they will have local government police. We know ourselves. We used to know ourselves. I've known you for over 40 years, watching you on TV. We used to know ourselves in Lagos. When you walk down the street, you know where you are coming from. You know which house you are coming from. But now we don't know anybody. People just walk into the state, nobody knows anybody. Lagos State makes the rest of the said to be 7.2 trillion in 2018. And Lagos State contributed 5.3 trillion. If Lagos State had that 5.3 trillion to put into Lagos State and generate the security and put the schools and put the education and put everything, Lagos State will do what Lagos State will do. Zamfara will do what Zamfara has to do. The security in Kaduna will not affect the security in Lagos State. And if the border security that we have, Fulani X-Men, Boko Haram, the federal government will take care of the territorial problems that we have. That is the duty of the federal government. The duty of the federal government is not supposed to come into the state.
All right.
They will take care of the territorial effects of the country. But now the same policemen, the same army that is supposed to take care of the territorial integrity of the state is the one coming to the state to fight militancy within the state. If we have a strong state, we will have strong policemen. If we have strong policemen, we will have a strong government. If we have a strong government, we will have a strong country. And if we have a strong country, our people will stay in our country. All these youth that are not employed, most of them will be ready to join the state police and work and give their better use to me.
Thank you very much, Adeshina. I really, really appreciate your call, giving us something of a comprehensive bird's eye view of the sequence of events. At each stage, we're lacking in each of those stages. And he started off with federalism being the problem. We even call ourselves the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How true is that? Is a debate we've had in the past. But we get what he's saying, because it has been said repeatedly. And so far, it goes back to, what do we really want? People come into office, they carry the ideas that they say, look, when we get in, we'll definitely look at all of these. But apparently, when they arrive in office, they do their best, and we later on come and judge. Now, people feel that the security architecture is overwhelmed, and nobody wants to dissent.
I think, I discovered that those in the corridors of power, in trying to be politically correct, sometimes try to deny the reality that Nigeria's present political structure.
And we all play along.
Yes, that it's not sustainable. You see, when University of Ibadan came up in the Western region era, Eastern Nigeria came up with University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and the North came up with the Ahmadu Bello University. There was a healthy competition. Agriculture was the mainstay in the North, cocoa pyramid, the groundnut pyramid. And in the East, we had the coal. Everybody was developing at their state. And that security as at today, the way it is, we are running a distorted federalism. You call Nigeria a federal system, but you centralize your police. Everybody takes instruction and all. If you have a federal government that is mischievous and want to render the governor of a state impotent, with the structure of the police under their control, they can actually make a mess of your government. Mm-hmm. All they will just tell the police commissioner is, please, don't fight crime.
Yes.
Let the rate of crime rise. And everybody will now start shouting, the governor is not doing anything, the governor is not doing anything.
But gentlemen, we've got to put all of this in perspective.
Yes.
Lest anybody listening from abroad thinks that, what? I'm not going anywhere near that place.
No.
I mean, that is not the situation.
No.
But because what we're saying, if taken out of context, makes it look as the entirety of Nigeria is a black spot.
No.
It's not. Having said that, good morning, Florence, in the UK.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, you see, most times I enjoy, listening to all these, our analysis of our country.
Yes.
But what baffles me is that the people in power, do they not put all this into action? They know the problem. It's not that they don't know the problem. It's like everyone is feeling very sensitivity. I mean, no one wants to do anything because they feel they are secured in their own place. Look at these people in the villages that, criminals go to invade. These are people already, down below, yet they are not even secured in their villages. All these guys living in all these mansions. Look, the rate Nigeria is going now, that their mansion, that their security won't save. Won't save. I mean, this is doable. It's not that it's not doable. It's doable. Somebody will just not care. They are wicked. And they go to church every Sunday. They go to churches. They go to mosques. How can they budget money, somebody with a conscience? You will sit down and oh my God.
Okay, Florence. Okay.
Nigerians, I'm a Nigerian. We're so wicked.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Florence. Appreciate your call from the UK. And in a sense, they are wicked.
No, let me.
It's one of those salacious kind of headlines. But she's saying that people are just not devoting themselves to the issues.
No, one thing we must understand is that the journey towards a nation's development is not a 24-hour project.
Indeed. So we got to be patient.
It's a journey.
We have to be
No,
patient.
we must keep pointing to where things that are wrong and keep suggesting.
Okay.
Keep advocating.
Yeah,
and when people have opportunity, because even United States of America that we are talking about today, when the Martin Luther Kings were shouting against racial discrimination, it did not change within 24 hours.
Indeed.
It's a continuous process. We keep focusing on this.
Florence in the UK made an important point, I think, and which is that, look, Nigeria, there's so many affluent people in Nigeria, which is a contradiction. You say this because what the world hears is those of us who are living on less than $1 a day. There's so many affluent people. Florence alluded to conspicuous consumption, mansions, and all of that. And she was alluding to the fact that one day, if things are not done differently, those very mansions, those very security forces, security guards, those very electrified fences will not be able to save them.
Mr. Yuri, there is this imbalance in how people live all over the world. But the issue is that those who live at the lower rung of the ladder can afford to do basic things. That's what we are saying.
To help ourselves.
To help themselves. Look, the problem in our system is multifarious. There's a problem of the government, there's a problem of the people. In fact, we are even the worst of the problem. when people who are given
we the people.
Yes, when people are given responsibility and given the funds to do certain things and they don't do it.
We look for what's
We even say that government cannot go against them.
We've completely run out of time.
We don't have safety nets.
Yes.
We've completely run out of time, gentlemen, but this is the kind of conversation that we could carry on for 3 hours. I want to thank you very much, Ahmed Dada Abbas, lawyer and political affairs analyst, and also the other lawyer in the House and political affairs analyst, Curtis Adiba. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing your perspectives. So that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for another conversation. I'm Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.